Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third meeting of the 55th Guild Council. I'd like to open the meeting at 5:30 p.m, promptly on time this time around, and begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land. Curtin Student Guild would like to pay our respects to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members of our community by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which the Bentley campus is located, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation.
Line.
Continue. Those who are absent,
Hey, can you
ask that you please? Can I ask that you mute, please? Perfect. Okay,
Hey.
thank you. Apologies, we have Texa and Noor, and then I'd like to advise the Guild Council that Jackie has joined us at 5:34 p.m. Moving on to item 3, the disclosure of any potential or perceived conflicts of interest. Is there any potential or perceived conflicts of interest to note tonight? No? Perfect. Moving on to item 4, the minutes of the previous meeting and circular resolutions. We have the minutes of the previous meeting under item 4.1, and the motion is that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 29th of February this year as a true and accurate record of proceedings at that meeting. Were there any comments or queries relating to those minutes? No? That is moved by Mitch Craig. Can I get someone to second? Ben Burgess? And all in favour? And those against? That motion carries. Item 4.2 is circular resolutions, and there are none. So we'll move swiftly on to item 4.3, the action list. We had one item on the action list, and that item refers to the action as follows. I call on Mitch to read that from the action list. That's fine, I'll read it. That is relating to check the AGM minutes regarding discussion and investigate concerns about dietary availabilities in all outlets and Malacca. And that's to be answered in the Managing Director's reports, and I advise and ask David to comment on that one as well.
Sure. So just in short, there was action undertaken after that meeting looking at products. Then at the last meeting, Ray raised it. I sent a very detailed response back to Ray listing a lot of products that are available and or things that are in train at the moment. The fact that we'll be changing the website to also make it much easier to search based on a specific dietary need as well. And we're in the process of redoing signage as well, but it's like 600 individual labels, if you like, that we need to do for that dietary information. And I guess one thing that has evolved here as well, like we did look after that meeting, and at that time, for example, gluten-free sauce, this is in commercial quantities, soy sauce was 4 or 5 times the price of the non-gluten-free. But now, what the market has changed quite a bit as well. So things that weren't viable for us to do now are far more viable and provide the same product to people, having a gluten-free for everyone, and quality is good for a lot of products. So that's certainly enabling us to do a lot more in that space. And if Ray's got any, or the people here who've raised it have got any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer them outside of here, or if you think it warrants raising here, that's fine as well.
Thank you, David. Moving on to number 5, reports. All reports were submitted. We'll start with Jasmine as item 5.1. Jasmine, you submitted your report. Did you have anything to add?
I would like to take my reports table, but happy to answer any questions from anyone. How come the Guild never has, not really pursued or pushed with the government that education should be free? Because all I see from the Guild is about how wonderful the Accords are, how great the Accords are, and of course, you guys, the paid placements, whatever. But none of that has been secured by the government. And really, the approach of the Labor government to higher education is what's most productive, what's most good for industry, what's good for the workforce, in the sense of what's good for the capitalist economy, not what's good for students, and how should education be actually run in a way that is in the interest of students. And that would be an education system which is free, fully publicly funded, and not just about industry connections, and not just about what business gaps need in the economy. And also, we have to acknowledge the Australian government right now is extremely pursuing a course of pushing and funneling students into the military kind of manufacturing, and into the defence industry. So why wasn't free education one of the big demands, or something that the Guild is talking about with students about them pursuing that? Are you pursuing that? Do you think free education is an important thing to pursue? Jasmine?
If you read our Accord submission, you would see in our submission that we pushed for education to be 100% free. So if you want to go on the Guild website and check our submission, I would highly recommend you do so.
But then why is all the reports about the Accord that it's an amazing step forward for students?
That's actually not what was included in our media statement.
It is.
You want to direct quote the section where we say...
Yeah, you're talking about how the Accords is a massive success, basically, for students.
We had specific successful wins in the interim, like getting paid placements. And if you take the time to talk to health science students and students in the humanities, it is a massive win for students if secured by the government and if the recommendation goes through in the budget. But did you want there was something you wanted to add?
I just want to add, in our final statement as a reaction to the Accords, we very much did highlight that this was some of the things were emergency, these things will relieve students in the interim if they're actually implemented. That was the statement as well, was strategic in that we didn't want to we wanted to highlight the things that we advocated for that are recommended, but also know that these are only recommendations and they still actually have to be implemented by the government. And so to go and say this is horrible is not really grateful in terms of campaigning to actually get these recommendations implemented. So there was actually discussion about this, and we did think, okay, what's the level we're going to support this Accords process? But we do want these certain recommendations going through, so we do have to give some sort of support behind it so that there's advocacy for them to happen. Do you know what I mean? But yes, the Guild stance is very much for free, fully funded education, and we made that clear in our submissions.
There's barely any actual advocacy for free education from the Guild, though. Like in an open way of actually pushing for broader, bigger demands that the student movement should always have been demanding, rather than just lobbying for small things.
If you have suggestions for it, maybe come to representation board, because this isn't relevant.
Just going to say, you come to the forum if you want to talk about having a 100% free education campaign, come to representation board, because that's the scope of representation board, and submit a motion about it if you want to as well. That's on the website and has been since December.
I'll just remind members at this juncture that to speak, you have to be called upon by the chair. So on both sides, thank you very much. Is there any further questions for Jasmine on their report? No, we'll move on. Veronica, your report was submitted. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think it is read. I just add though that it's written that my meetings were in April, but they were in March. I can fix that for the website.
Thank you. Any questions for Veronica?
Me.
Ella?
Well, I find the report quite perplexing and pretty on the defensive, to be honest, especially around Palestine. There's a whole section shitting all over the student strike for Palestine, basically shitting all over Palestine activism in the state, saying that it was bad that a student strike for Palestine happened. And let's just take a step back for a second. There's a genocide happening that our government has been supporting since October 7. 32,000 people have been massacred by the Israeli state. Right now, in Al Shifa Hospital, people are being forcefully pushed out of that hospital by Netanyahu. And the Australian government, what have they done? They've cut UNRWA funding. They have said Israel has the right to defend itself. They've closed political and economic and military ties to the Israeli state. And what does Veronica have to say about a student strike for Palestine? That it was an abysmal turnout, that it was bad. When Veronica, correct me if I'm wrong, Veronica, sits with National Labour students at National Union of Students conferences, the Young Labour Party faction, and votes with them and is affiliated to them on the NX of the NUS. This is the Young Labour Party, and you dare to actually attack Palestine activism in this state? Seriously, the Labour Party, let's remind ourselves, Penny Wong, cutting UNRWA funding.
We invite members to ask a question as opposed to using it as an opportunity to grandstand.
I'm sorry, grandstanding about a genocide? Really? There's barely any discussion about this, key event happening in politics, in the Reps Board and also the Guild Council. Instead, pro-Palestine activism is attacked and is slandered. It's appalling.
I would remind the member that matters of representation are best served for representation board. That is the scope of that board. This is in relation to the governance of the Guild. Please continue with your question.
My question is, how do you justify being affiliated to the National Labour students when you allegedly support Palestine activism? Isn't that tokenism, Veronica? Is it not tokenistic to be affiliated to the National Labour students and claim that you support Palestine?
I'll first just clarify as well. I'm not at all saying that a student strike for Palestine is a bad thing in my report. I was just pointing out that the weekly strikes for Palestine, the weekly rallies for Palestine have consistent turnout from certain groups and they did not choose to support this action this time. I thought that was very concerning. We also hear we do hear reports from people hearing problematic behaviour from this organisation. I said that is something we should be concerned about going forward. Absolutely not am I saying we shouldn't engage in activism for Palestine. To answer that question, even though this is part of my personal drive, I believe in lobbying in all sorts of ways. I believe in pushing for the Labour Party in my own time to be pro-Palestine, and so I do that in my own front. And I'm sorry that you...
How can you justify being in the Labour Party?
I remind members that they need to be called on by the chair. That's not a relevant question. Vice President Education of the Guild, and we are asking questions in relation to the report that was submitted by Veronica since the last Guild Council. And I believe Veronica has answered that question.
Ella, I wish I had a say in the Labour Party, but I use my membership as like an advocacy token that I have to try and push that party. I do it in every walk of life. I try and push.
Penny Wong is a member of the Labour left. Did you know that? Penny Wong is the member of the Labour left.
I heard that, Ella. Like,
So that's where the Labour left ends you, supporting these.
I call on Jasmine.
I just wanted to add that when it comes to asking questions about people being in the Labor Party or affiliated with the NLS or anything like that, I just wanted to add to keep it relevant, and also, again, for Reps Board.
This is a political question. It is.
Ella, I would remind you, you need to be called on to speak in this chamber. This is your first warning. It is my job to ensure the orderly conduct of the Guild Council, and I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. So if you want to speak, please ask to be called on. Jasmine, I'll return you to your comments if you wish to continue. No? In that case, were there any further questions for Veronica?
Lily Hamida has a question.
As is customary with the Guild Council, those who view can be given speaking rights and can be given speaking rights. You can ask the question. And I would remind members as well, when you're not speaking into the mic, to turn the mic off as well, just for the quality of the recording and accountability. Thanks.
Quality of the recording.
Yeah, as Ella mentioned, I just wanted to say, as a person that's been a part of Friends of Palestine, which is the main organising group that's been central to push pro-Palestine activism in Perth, and has actively worked with all the pro-Palestine groups in Perth to include them with the ongoing movement. Because I've been to every Palestine meeting which has happened for since October now, and I've been a part of the organising meetings every week since all this horror has played out in Palestine. And Friends of Palestine has shown their support for Students for Palestine activism by endorsing Students for Palestine events and demonstrations, and it's clear that they recognise how important pro-Palestine activism is across campuses. So when we put so much work into building this movement, and we work with Friends of Palestine to build their rallies on campus. We have stalls every day, and also Friends of Palestine works to build Students of Palestine demonstrations. How can Veronica say the student strike was bad? The turnout was bad, and it was bad for the pro-Palestine activism. How do you explain all the support for pro-Palestine from pro-Palestine groups then, like Friends of Palestine then? That makes no sense.
Also, I would just add that the Palestinian community of WA also supports.
Need to be called on. I can invite you again to repeat what you want to say, provided that you ask for the call.
And I'm glad to hear that there is consultation, but my concern was that there wasn't, because originally, as we know, there's a lot of those who follow the Islamic faith who are coming out for Palestine action, and yet the NDA was originally scheduled for normal prayer time. That's common there, and then it had to be changed last minute. So that was
Can I respond to this, please? Because it's legit.
Ella, yes?
Okay, so Veronica just stated that we had changed it last minute. We changed it 2.5 weeks before the strike happened for our own initiative. I spent a lot of time talking and calling Ali, who's also part of Friends of Palestine WA, and also he's one of the heads of Muslim Youth WA, and I consulted him about when the best time for the student strike on the Friday was, and he suggested 11:30 a.m. He also contacted other students who attend, Islamic schools, and we worked together and we chose 11:30 as a new time for the protest more than 2 weeks before the protest. Seriously, so to claim that we haven't consulted groups is totally slanderous. When we had groups, Muslim Youth WA, Palestinian Community of WA, Sarah Sabi from the Palcom WA spoke at the rally, Zaid from Friends of Palestine, a Palestinian, spoke at the rally, School Strike for Climate actually attended the rally as well, Socialist Alliance, a bunch of other groups attended the protest, and so these baseless claims I think really show that Veronica feels a little bit, on the defensive, because the Guild has done basically nothing to seriously mobilise students for the weekly demonstrations for Palestine. You claim that the football rallies have bigger turnouts, but what has the Guild even done to build those rallies? Nothing. The Guild has a lot of weight and power to build those rallies and mobilise pro-Palestine students for them. The Guild...
And
I have to email the Guild to get...
I urge the member to finalise that question here, because this is questions relating to...
Absolute baseless claim data.
Okay. Ella, this is your second warning. We are trying to ensure the orderly conduct of the Guild gets done in a timely and efficient manner. I refer members, if they want to continue this conversation, it may be best served outside the council chambers in an alternate area.
Yeah.
For the minutes, Veronica said.
How many warnings do I get before I get kicked out? Genuine question.
That's at the discretion of the chair. I generally operate with a 3-strike and you're out system. So, so long as you're well behaved for the rest of this Guild Council and in line with the conduct of the Guild Council, we should be fine. We'll move on. Item 5.3. Max, you've been waiting a while. You submitted your report. Just quickly, Callum, yes?
If I may interject, the microphones can hear the members when they are sitting back. We don't need to be shouting into the microphone because we can all hear you from where you are.
I appreciate the contribution. Thank you, Callum. I'll note for the minutes that Tani has entered at 5:52. Tani, you have not missed procedurally too much for her reports. Max Zhang has submitted his report, the Vice President Activities. Max, did you have anything to add relating to your report?
I'll take my report mostly as read. The only thing I would like to add is since submitting this report and today, we've had the Respect Fest, Respect at Uni Week, and the ISC/PSC Summer Sundowner event all happen. As usual for the trend of this year, we have had record-breaking attendance for all of our events. I can confidently say, as mentioned in my report, that we are fully back to pre-COVID numbers. This only good things to come on the horizon, I think. But yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Max. Were there any questions for Max on his report? No? We'll move along. Item 5.4, the Vice President Sustainability and Welfare. Jackie, you submitted your reports. Did you have anything to add?
No, I'm happy to take it as tabled, but I'm open to any questions anyone might have.
Sure. Were there any questions for Jackie on the report? No, we'll move on. Item 5.5 is the Secretary's report. Mitch, your report was submitted. Did you have anything to add?
Yep, I'll just add that we passed the club's policy except for the escalation policy, which we're having a further look at. And as of today, the new club charter is active as per the resolution passed last Guild Council. And I've been working hard. I've got Dylan, his deed all signed today and stuff. So that's all sorted out.
Thank you, Mitch. Were there any questions for Mitch on the Secretary's report? If not, we'll move to item 5.6, the Managing Director's report. David, your report was submitted. Did you have anything to add?
No, nothing other than there's a fairly reasonable chance we'll crack 100 clubs this year, the way we're tracking. So fingers crossed on that one. And then our VPA can throw a party if we do that. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, David. Excellent news. Any questions for David? If not, we'll move to the motion. The motion is that the Guild Council approve the reports. That's moved by Mitchell Craig, and can I get a seconder? That's Max. Can I get all the votes for? All the votes against? That motion is carried. Item 6, business on notice. We have the safety report under item 6.1. Was there any discussion relating to the safety report or comments relating to the safety report? Mitch?
Yeah, I'm curious whether there's a trend up or down on workers' comp in the last 12 months compared to the 12 months before that.
You can't really say. The problem is statistically, the most people, 7 odd years I've been here, we've had a workers' comp at any one time has been 2. and these numbers represent one person. So it really depends on the duration of their injury as to how those numbers look. So it's typically, it's probably an average at any one time of one person on workers' comp. We have periods, we had a year without anyone, then we had two people. So on average, it'd be about one person on workers' comp.
Thank you, David. Any further questions relating to the safety report? Jasmine?
Just on the about how the floor is in R105. Do you know when that will be fixed, or roughly, like when we'll expect from properties?
So just for background for people, so 105 in the library, in the copy kiosk in the cafe, the floor was put in by the university as part of the library refurbishment, and the floor has started to bubble in the kiosk lift, and the university said, well, it's our fault that it's lifting, and said the floor's fine, and I've gone back and pointed out it doesn't meet the relevant standards for that type of area, contrary to what they said. Pointed out in the legislation where that's the case. So there's a bit of an ongoing dispute there with the university, but it's a fairly standard response to some of those things that there's blame in our direction.
Thank you, David. Were there any further questions relating to the safety report? If not, we'll move to the motion. The motion is that the Guild Council notes the safety report. That is moved by Mitch. Can I get a seconder? Jasmine, and votes in favour? And votes against? That motion is carried. Item 6.2 is going to be a fun one. That is the 2023 financial statements and audit. The motion is that the Guild Council A notes the audit report and opinion, B authorises the President and Secretary to certify that, in the opinion of the Guild Council, 1, the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income and statements of cash flows are drawn up so as to give a true and fair view of the performance of the Guild for the year ended the 31st of December 2023. 2, the statement of financial position is drawn up so as to give a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the Guild as of the 31st of December 2023. 3, the Guild has complied with the Australian Accounting Standards, Reduced Disclosure Requirements, the Curtin University Act of 1966 and the Australian Charters and Non-Profits Commission Act of 2012. And 4, at the date of this statement, there are reasonable grounds to believe that the Guild will be able to pay its debts as and when they fall due. C, recommends to the annual general meeting that it adopt the audited financial statements of the Student Guild for the year ending the 31st of December 2023. And D, recommends to the University Council that it note the audited financial statements of the Student Guild for the year ending the 31st of December 2023. Was there any discussion relating to the financial statements and audits from members present? Or questions? No? That, David?
Yeah, I'll just point out for the benefit of those who aren't familiar with the process. So this, almost the wording's identical and has been for the last 5 years as to what's required. There's a very thorough process in the background with auditors. And the Finance and Risk Committee look at this in a very high level of detail, and the auditors are completely independent of the Guild. So just to give you some assurance with regard to that. And the Finance and Risk Committee has 2 external members on it who are finance professionals that actually both of them have to be certified practicing accountants as well. So just to give you a little bit of confidence and background on the process that gets us to this point.
Thank you, David. That motion was, of course, moved by Mitch and seconded by Jasmine. Mitch, did you want to add anything?
No, not really, other than obviously Guild made a loss last year, and hope we are making some changes that will hopefully improve that for years to come. So, yeah.
Thanks, Mitch. And Jasmine, did you want to add anything? No? We'll move to the vote. Can I get votes in favour of approving the 2023 financial statements and audit? And those against? That motion is carried. You'll note that just prior to Guild Council, item 6.3 was amended, and that was circulated to all members. So that amended motion reads as follows. Item 6.3 refers to the 2023 annual report, and the motion is that Guild Council A approves the 2023 annual report, B recommends to the annual general meeting that it notes the 2023 annual report, C recommends to the University Council that it notes the 2023 annual report, D notes the typographical errors may be corrected prior to publishing or distributing, and E notes the changes may be incorporated based on feedback from Guild Council. And that's moved by Jasmine and seconded by Mitch. Jasmine, did you want to add anything?
I'll just add that we added in that section in the motion, so if there's any feedback from Guild Council, we can edit the annual report. You might have already seen some comments on the page, but there is a couple of things, kind of like the visuals with the committee structures that are just going to be altered to make a bit more sense, and then like the cover page and things like that to be added, and some of the committee names to be updated, like first year committee is now called first year representatives.
Mitch, you seconded that one. Do you want to add anything?
Not really. We're also adding a line between corporate services and managing director and changing some photos.
Enthralling stuff. Any other questions or comments? Ray?
Sorry, I got a bit confused. Was this the motion for the annual report? Okay. Just some bits that seem a bit bare bones, mainly in the. I just had it up. Lost it. Of course I did. The section around, I think it's on page 13 of the report, on the accessibility little section there, there's a bunch of stuff omitted, like the wheelchair accessible location, laboratory location being implemented in building 500, the implementation of automated transcription and captioning on fire lectures, and successfully advocating for an all-campus accessibility office, among other things.
Jasmine?
No, Ray, I agree that we can add more wins in there, especially in your portfolio last year. So you secured some really major wins that Guild had failed to do so previously. So if you had, if you want to flick me an email, it's kind of like some dot points to be added, I'm happy to elaborate in that section and have the report circulated around before with like the edits and everything, so people can have a look at it before.
Fantastic. Was there any other discussion or questions? If not, we will move to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried, as is the amendment. Item 7 refers to the minutes of committees reporting to the Guild Council. Item 7.1 is the representation board meeting for the 15th of February 2024. 7.2 is the executive committee for the 9th of February as well as the 26th of February 2024. 7.3 is the finance and risk committee for the 7th of February 2024, and there has not been a meeting of the legal committee. As such, there are no minutes from that committee. The motion is that the Guild Council notes the minutes of the boards and committee on block. That's moved by Mitch Craig and seeking a seconder. Tani and all.
Can we have discussion on the minutes?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I watched the reps board meeting, and I was quite disappointed that the way Palestine activism was talked about as tokenistic, pretty appalling, considering what I just mentioned, coming from Veronica, a member of the Labor Party, a member of the National Labour Students, to dare to call pro-Palestine activism tokenism, to, an event happening on campus that would draw people towards the Palestinian cause, that actually shows a section of students who support Palestine in an open public way, And the reps board, all they have to say is, this shouldn't happen. No, this shouldn't happen. And so I think it's important to think about what's going on here. A member of the Labor Party is silencing pro.
I would ask the member, that is your third warning, please leave. You're not exiting the room. Well, then the meeting is adjourned. I would remind members, if they are to ask questions, to ask questions. And I would also remind the member that the minutes of the representation board that you are referring to are not in this, is not in this Guild Council agenda. So your question is not legitimate because it does not refer to minutes that we are discussing. I invite it.
One point. A lot of Palestinian students came to the community event yesterday and were very grateful. There was pro-Palestine event happening on campus. One Palestinian said to me the day before, it feels like things are too normal on campus when there's a genocide happening. I think that's an indictment on the lack of activities for the Guild. Question, why did the Credit Guild remove comments on the YouTube recordings of the Red Board meetings? Why remove comments? It's meant to be a democratic process for students to see what's discussed at Red Board. Why not allow students to comment on the YouTube videos? Why not allow that to happen? I want an answer about that. Why were the comments removed on the YouTube recordings of Red Board meetings? Why?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why the action list was created. Let's add that to the action list and we can resume at the next Guild Council with an answer. I don't believe that the remit of uploading the recordings... Hang on. Ella. I don't believe that it is the remit of anybody in this room to upload the recordings to YouTube nor manage the YouTube account.
And the Red Board should be made aware of how their Red Board is communicated to the student body. Because it's a democratic process. Mitch, answer it, please.
Yeah, that is the. No. Hang on. That is not an excuse. That is not an excuse. That is a procedural outcome, right? Which is what the Guild Council is all about. The order of the Guild, right? If we want to talk about representation, we can talk about that at the representation board. And I would refer you to Veronica to talk to Veronica, the chair of representation board, outside of this forum. We are discussing the matters relating to Guild Council and the approval of the minutes. So.
The minutes of the board that we look over, but that was the
Yeah, but.
the comments were removed. It's the exact thing that is supposed to be discussed.
But it's not. It's not because we're not referring to that representation board. I'm not Mitch.
I'd just like to add that the Guild Executive don't manage the YouTube channels or the socials or anything. That's done by professional staff. So I'll apply with them tomorrow as to why I believe it might be channel-wide settings or something. I'm not sure.
No, the thing is, I did comment, and then my comment had vanished.
So I'll check this out.
Well, I hope that gets added to the action list, and that we can see it at the next Guild Council.
Absolutely. Let's
Thank
add it to the action list. Hey, we'll resume at the next Guild Council. Thank you very much. Let's bring the meeting back to a little bit of order here and continue. Yeah, continue the meeting. We'll cancel the agenda there. I don't think we actually adjourned for any reason, not least to continue talking about the issues that matter. Where are we?
Issues that matter, really? Oh my God. Like, seriously.
Issues matter. Continue. Okay. I believe that we have
Talk about tokenism.
a mover and a seconder for that vote. Can I get the votes in favour of approving the minutes of committees reporting to the Guild Council? All in favour, raise hands. Those against? Motion is carried. Item number 8 is general business. Was there any general business to note for this Guild Council? Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to quickly sort of echo the stuff that Hamida was saying about, I was looking at the minutes from the last reps board as well, and it was actually quite appalling to see that our guild on this campus sees any sort of pro-Palestine activism as, you know, just sort of like demonising us, saying that we didn't consult the right groups, blah, blah, blah. I think that that's completely in poor taste. I think the student strike was incredibly successful. I think it's really horrific that we get told, you know, we've been building this for weeks, and then we get told that it's complete, like it's useless or whatever, and we didn't consult the right groups or whatever else. I just think like people who came to that, the Friends of Palestine WA members who came to that student strike. I was at the Friends of Palestine meeting after the one after straight after the student strike. People said, older like Palestinian members of the community, that sort of thing, they said that they were extremely glad that pro-Palestine students, pro-Palestine activists in Perth were organised that strike. I think it's completely in poor taste to say that what Veronica said basically, and Mari as well, saying that like it's causing harm. Talk about causing harm. I think about the Labor Party, like the government that we're under right now, sending, funding Israel, saying that Israel is a close ally and friend. I just don't think like it's a pro-Palestine event. How is that? And now you're yawning. Yeah, I just think like it's completely ridiculous to say that pro-Palestine activism is useless, and you know it's. I just can't like remember the exact wording, but it's actually ridiculous to. I was actually disgusted by.
I think it should be noted for the minutes that is no direct quote from that representation board, and I would invite Jasmine to speak.
Mitch, you too. I just wanted to say that I'm really glad to hear that the turnout was well attended, and that a lot of Palestinian students did attend, and that, you know, a lot of the concerns raised by the Palestinian community on campus and the students, you know, that those outcomes didn't occur during that, and that I did send an email to yourself and to Erin as well, and I'm happy to extend that invite to the members of Friends of Palestine WA, present/students of Palestine/Socialist Alternative that are here to have a meeting with the Guild so we can plan out on-campus activism for the next semester and semester 2 as well. If that's something you want to do, if you actually want to have Guild endorsed and
I remind members they have to be called on to speak, please. This is the 5th time now, plus.
Also, it's a joint decision of the representation board, not one single member, and I respect the comments that were sent through by the Palestinian students on campus through our portal and through the influx of emails we got from Palestinian students about why they didn't want to have that event on campus. And that's the information I was going based off, because that was what I was provided with, and that was what was sent to the representation board as well. But yeah, I'm happy to promote on-campus activism. I'm sure representation board would be as well if you want to attend the next one and talk about promoting that. I won't take up too much time, more time in relation to that. And I also just wanted to add that I agree that the actions of the Labor Party and of Penny Wong, who have claimed to be in the Labor left, is disgusting, and we should be holding our government accountable no matter who is in power. And it is shameful of the Labor Party how they're viewing this crisis. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Labor left is Labor. I'm not playing to be. Yeah, you're Labor. I'm not Labor.
Well, I wanted to say, while it's good that the Guild has passed pro-Palestine motions, we don't see any support for Palestine activism. Like, what did the Guild do to build the student strike? I don't think it did enough. I don't think it does nearly enough. And I think it should be promoting the weekly Palestine rallies, and it should be sending emails to every student to hear about this, and it should print posters and put it up everywhere. I think it should be actively promoting and helping to build every Palestine, demonstration in the ongoing after this.
Veronica?
Yep, I would love that too. And if you want the Guild to build these things, then come to us at the start of the building process, not at the last minute to advertise it. Thanks.
Wait, are you serious? We put so much effort into getting the Guild to promote things, and there was barely one poster. The Toga Party had posters all across the promenade every day the 2 weeks before the Toga Party. There was like 5 student strike posters up. I had to remind Jasmine to put it on social media. Like, seriously, the Guild could do a lot more to genuinely promote and mobilise students for pro-Palestine activism. So, can we put in the action list that the Guild tomorrow will print out posters for the Palestine rally this Saturday, put them up, and send an email to every single student of the student body?
I just want to remind members, A, a comfortable distance away from Mike will suffice, and B, that is not the remit of the Guild Council. That is the remit of the Representation Board. Matters of representation are therefore referred to the Representation Board, and I have invited you already to speak to Veronica outside of this forum. We are dealing with the orderly conduct of the Guild. Justin?
Okay, for starters, it's the motion that was passed doesn't bind any actions. Like, it's very specific things like that, like put up 15 posters, something like that. If you as a Guild councillor, send me an email what it is that you want put up, put in motions through Reps Board, comes to Reps Board and discuss it during the minute time. And any student, the people sitting here, yourself can submit a motion to Reps Board, and you haven't, you come to Guild Council, which is the wrong forum to discuss these matters. I've told you repeatedly, come to Representation Board, put your name on a motion, push it through, have a debate at Representation Board, the correct forum for this. If you want to...
This all reads like a massive excuse in terms of what we're actually trying to say. Seriously, it's just an excuse. She's just using an excuse to skirt around the edges of the actual, political role that these people play as members of the Labour left, and doing bare minimum only when I push it to promote pro-Palestine activism. So yeah, I'll email you the poster for the rally on Saturday, and I hope to see it put up around campus tomorrow.
Justin?
Again, thank you for the last minute actions for the Guild that you call on, instead of having anything to do with the Guild from the beginning, like continued action on campus. But I understand what I've said is out of the remit of Guild Council, so sorry, Chair.
Apology accepted. And I would remind members for the nth time, the remit of Guild Council is the orderly conduct of the Guild business, the business relating to the Guild, that is procedures of commercial operations, etc. Yep.
You say this was last minute. Jasmine, I've seen you alone at the FOPLA rallies, and that's good. I think more people from the Guild should come to, wear your Guild shirts, whatever, just come to more rallies. We need more people at these rallies. To say it's last minute is kind of, I don't know, did you not think to yourself, oh, maybe I should take some initiative and, I don't know, contact FOPLA. They have the documents, they have the posters, the link to the Google Doc with all the poster sheets there, with all the leaflets. Did you not? That's a question. Did you not think to take some initiative and?
Jasmine?
Post that? That's a fair point raised, but also it's not, as a one single individual, I can't make a decision on behalf of the Reps Board. That would not be democratic of me. Just because I'm the president doesn't mean I have less of a vote as any other member on Reps Board. But you know what, that is a fair point, and I take that on notice, and thank you, Una, for raising that. So yeah, that's fair.
Robert?
Yes, I'd also like to address some comments made by Veronica and Jasmine as well. So in your report, you kind of referred to Palestine activism as tokenistic. Palestine activism has also been referred to as doing more harm than good. I'd just like to say that these comments are extremely disingenuous and slanderous to Palestine activism, especially given the fact that we're members of the Labour Party sitting on this Guild Council who are actively, you're part of the party that is in government that is actively supporting Israel in numerous ways. The Guild Council has also approved recently an engineering club event which is promoted as a meet and greet with the Australian Defence Forces. Right, the Australian Defence Forces are providing logistical and intelligence support to Israel currently in its war in Gaza. So, I mean, how can you possibly say that Palestine activism is doing more harm than good when the Guild is actively supporting, allowing the ADF from the campus, which is actually actively supporting Israel's genocide in Gaza? That is a fact.
At the same time, refusing
Hang on,
to look at the
hang on.
event.
You have to ask for the call. Again, do you seek the call? No? No? Fantastic. Thank you. Is there any other general business?
Yeah, Rob asked a question. Can they respond?
Okay, who's the question directed at?
Well, the
Okay,
Guild executive, because the ADF event was approved by the Guild.
okay. So the way you know, you guys have been on campus for a long time. I'm sure you know how club processes work. Do I, as an individual, support that? Having an event like that on campus? Absolutely not. But it doesn't go against the Guild bylaws or policy, just like having any other club having an event that is within the remnant of the policy and the bylaws. We are governed by that, even if I think it's absolutely shameful that the Curtin Engineers Club have promoted an ADF event during the war in Palestine, and also given projects that led to some horrific on-campus incidences last year. That is my personal opinion, if you want to know that. But again, club approvals, just like someone can't just shut off a club because I don't like it. If it's within the bylaws, if it's within the policy, we can't stop it. You're on Guild Council. If you want to change policy, like all the policy that you voted up last week that controls events that get approved, you should have said something then, and you've missed your opportunity, I guess. But yeah, so there's my answer to that, and I didn't include anything about the other things that Rob, you raised is not direct at me, so I'm not going to answer that.
Sure. Was there any further general business?
If you were so against the ADF event, why was there nothing organised actively by you or people around you to oppose the event and call it out? Instead, I was approached, which, you know, we were thinking about it, didn't do anything, but also because the Guild would actually have had more power to actually attack and slander that event if you really were so opposed to the ADF event happening.
Just quickly.
Well, then why be on the Guild executive then if you feel like it's such a big conflict of interest? Like you're saying, oh, I'm against it, but then you also allow it to happen and don't do anything and then you think you can't call it out because it's a conflict of interest.
For the clarity of members, can I ask you to clarify the question you are asking, please?
Why did Veronica and Jasmine organise something opposing the ADF event?
Veronica? Yeah,
being members of the executive, it wouldn't necessarily be in best interest for any of the clubs. If I all of a sudden said, I don't like your club event, and as Guild president with that conflict of interest, I'm going to say you can't have it, just like I would never do it for any of the socialist alternative events that are in the, that follow the bylaws and follow the Guild regs of what we can have an event for. That would be an abuse of power as my position of president, and that would be undemocratic, and that would be unfair for me to do that as Guild president. That's my interpretation of my stance. But I don't know if any Guild councillors have any thoughts if you had the Guild president come out and actively speak out against a club and a club event and organise a rally or something for a club event. In my personal circumstances, I don't think that's an appropriate thing for me to do as Guild president. You know, maybe if I wasn't in this position, I wouldn't, but
any other general business? Jan?
Everyone might have seen the additional motion that I circulated around today, and in order for that motion to be considered by the Guild Council and included on the agenda, I would like to move that we suspend Standing Order 12.4 of the bylaws, which will allow this motion to be included on the agenda. So I move that we suspend that standing order. Can I have someone second? Thanks, Mitch. Sorry.
Yeah, can I have someone second? Thank you, Mitch. Can I get those votes in favour of suspension of 12.4? And those votes against? Motion is carried. I think I'll read the motion, thank you, Mitchell. That's my job. The motion is as follows. The motion is that the Guild Council approve that Mary-Anne Shattuck's term as Deputy Managing Director be extended until the 1st of April 2025 on the recommendation of the Executive Committee. That is moved by Jasmine and seconded by Mitch. Jasmine, did you want to add to this one? Mitch, do you want to add to this one?
Can I move that any discussions be held in camera?
Jasmine seconds. And those in favour? Those against? The meeting is now in camera. Non-members have to leave, inclusive of others present, including David. I believe we can make exceptions for the Minister. Okay.
I would move that David be allowed to remain.
Mitch has moved that David be allowed to remain. Can I get a seconder? Jasmine, and those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. David remains. Unfortunately. We're no longer in camera. The question is to be voted on. All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. Item number 9 refers to the meeting evaluation. Tani, you have the meeting evaluation for the 3rd meeting of the 55th Guild Council.
Thank you, Ryan. Apologies again for my tardiness. Meeting evaluation, I, of course, can only evaluate what I was here for. Just going to run through this quickly. I hate doing these, but it is what it is. Benefits to the students. It sounds like we're having a lot of successful and full events. That is really good to hear. That gives back to students. Also good to hear over 100 clubs. I love seeing, and I'm sure students, hopefully, let's put an asterisk on that one, hopefully. On that as well, priorities of the committee for the year, the financial statement and the audits passing our sort of general duties. The papers of the meeting agenda was in a timely manner. Additional amendments and motions coming in a little late, but there was a small amendment and the new action was discussed in general business, which is an appropriate place. Strengths of the meeting, a very passionate committee in all my 14 months of being a Guild councillor. It was great to see some really good discussion. Suggestion for improvement, the committee could improve following the direction and ruling of the chair, as it was sometimes hard to hear for members. And that was pretty much it.
Here. With that, we move to item 10, which is the next meeting. Next meeting of the Guild Council is to be Thursday, the 18th of April, 2024 at 5:30 to be held in Council Chambers. Documents and motions are to be submitted no later than 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 11th of April, 2024 to the Secretary. And with that, the meeting is closed at a timely 6:31 p.m.